Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast, episode 361. As always, one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by my own Xavier and Magneto. Jesse and Alex, hello. Leaving that tension in the air.
Jesse, we must get them to subscribe to the Pokemon. Why did I say Pokemon?
No, dude, that's not the show we're doing.
Patreon.
Try
Messed
again.
up my own joke.
Jesse, Charles. That's the wrong guy. That's the wrong guy.
What is that?
Come on, Charles. I never believe in aliens, Charles.
Different
$10,000.
thing.
$10,000, bitch. Patreon.com/ChilluminatiPod, bitch.
That's great.
Remember when Vinnie Jones was the Juggernaut and they fucking got him to say, "I'm the Juggernaut,"
I do
bitch?
remember
it didn't
that
even
movie
make any fucking
happened.
sense. Yeah, fuck.
And third X-Men movie. What a great movie that was. The Last Stand.
Yeah, and there's nothing in current pop culture that has us talking about the X-Men for any reason.
Especially not today's episode.
Nope.
Ready to let's just fucking jump right into it. Gentlemen, today's episode, we're just going in because this is a big one anyway, so let's just get going on this fucker. I've been excited for this one for a while. Actually, Jesse, I forget if you did a full episode on it or if it was just kind of this partial like side tangent, but we've talked about on the show multiple times the whole World War II hunt for mystical relics.
We've talked about it a bunch, but we haven't done an episode.
The Indiana Jones, Hellboy.
Yeah.
All that shit.
Of it all. Yeah. The Justice Society of it all. Yeah.
And that's kind of like where this starts is because today is part one of Nazis and the occult. And there's,
I'm glad you kept going because I thought you realized today is part one of Nazis. Pause, and I was like,
a film by Ken Burns.
yeah, exactly. This is going to be a two-parter, much like in a way we did Atlantis, which is kind of a weird comparison. Episode one, this first part is going to be the full retelling or kind of timeline of what I think most people know of the pop culture version of Nazis and the occult, what the story is behind it all, and kind of like a lot of it that isn't actually true. And then next week will be the actual occult shit that they dabbled in through history and where it all started and where that ended up. And the teams that America did create to actually go out and like try and like, okay, well, I guess if they're going after the fucking Spear of Longinus, we might as well look for it as well, because if case it's real, we better find it first.
The Spear of Longinus.
Yep. Longinus. Yeah, when most people think about Nazis in the cult, what most people are honestly picturing is like Indiana Jones and History Channel special stuff that most of us watched growing up. I remember that mermaid documentary that wasn't real that most people thought was real when it happened.
Yes, I do. And honestly, like I was watching like I don't know why I think this, like, but it's kind of in a lot of stuff, this trope, I feel like. It's kind of like a forgotten part of a lot of like, I feel like any pulp guy from this time, like when you go back and you read this stuff, like I did a bunch of DC comics reading over COVID, for example, and like just the way that the various superheroes and stuff interact with the Nazis, it's like there is like a mythical tapestry of like Indiana Jones-esque stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where most of us kind of came in on all of this when it comes to our knowledge on Nazis and the occult, except for maybe Jesse, who like was a history teacher and probably knew a little bit more of the truth there. But like, until I did the research, I mostly just knew or understood the pop culture version of all of
UFOs
this.
On the moon, Nazis in Africa,
all that good stuff.
Yeah.
But the actual story, like the actual story of Nazis and the occult is like start to finish so much bigger and like weirder than that like I think most people here listening, when they hear all this, probably haven't even heard the actual extent of which the Nazis did dabble within the occult.
So what you're saying is the comic books just were real.
They were just completely historically accurate.
Yeah.
They're records of everything that happened in fun picture form.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So that's what tonight is going to be. I'm going to tell you the whole thing in order, the way it's been kind of just told in pop culture for the last 60 or so years. There's like a secret lodge in Munich that we're going to get to, a circle of women in Berlin who claimed they were receiving transmissions from another solar system. And
that sounds familiar to me now that you bring that up. Okay. Yeah. Maybe we talked about that on the show before. Yeah.
We may have, and wrote down the engineering stuff that came with it. And a spear sitting in a museum case in Vienna
the spear of Longinus
that supposedly decided the outcome of the Second War. All this stuff is like we're going to cover tonight. But our story starts in Munich in August of 1918, which is about 3 months before Germany loses the First World War, and everything in that country comes apart all at once. And it starts with a man who is calling himself Rudolf von Siebettendorf. Siebettendorf had spent a big...
Is that with a Z? I'm so sorry. Is that with a Z?
No, S. Siebettendorf. He had spent a huge chunk of his adult life just abroad. A lot of it was in Turkey. And by his own account, what he did while he was over there was get, quote unquote, initiated into Sufi mystical practice, Freemasonry, alchemy, the whole spread of like those types of things.
Whole spread. A charcuterie board of delicious alchemic practices.
Yes, I would. A charcuterie board of things that a certain type of European gentleman went east to study around this time during the turn of the century.
What kind of European, like the kind of European gentleman who has psychic mind fights with his buddies?
Fucking goddamn correct.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
the kind of European gentleman.
Type of European gentleman. Right.
Who approached and used psychic vampire.
Yeah, they went, I just
Yeah. No. I mean, it's like that time. It's that turn of the century time where like mystical practices are very, like spiritualism is getting very big. After he was traveling abroad, he came home to Germany with a noble title, money that nobody really could quite account for, and a new, very specific conviction. He believed the German people had a hidden history, one that was buried deliberately by people who benefited from Germans not knowing who they actually were. And and this isn't something that he was like starting from scratch with necessarily. Actually, we have to back up 6 years briefly for like the origin of this. In 1912, a publisher named Theodor Fritsch, who ran an anti-Semitic magazine called The Hammer, and who put out one of the first German editions of, if this sounds familiar from the Project Bluebeam, he put out one of the first German editions of the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. This guy was involved in setting up a secret society called the German or the Order of Teutons. And the German Norden was built to be a hidden command center for the entire Volksik movement in Germany, which was a place where the people who actually believed all this stuff all could organize without doing it in public. That this place was structured like a Masonic lodge, which is genuinely kind of like a weird, funny choice, given that these men considered Freemasonry to be part of the internal conspiracy that they were organizing against.
Wonder why they couldn't do it in public, though.
Yeah, I wonder why. I wonder
what about it. I wonder what so obviously about it makes it so hard to do in public.
Because it's nerdy and they didn't want to be laughed at.
I don't think I ever got to that in the script, so maybe we'll never know.
They were like playing Dungeons and Dragons. They didn't want to be made fun of by the people on the street.
Yeah, fucking white supremacist dungeons. fucking Aryan dungeons.
Just a couple of pals getting together.
Dungeons I got the joke. Dungeons and Grand Dragons. There you go.
There it is. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Hey, just real quick. Fuck the Nazis. Fuck the KKK. Just so you guys know. Just so you guys know.
That's a hard stance we here at Chilluminati Podcast all take.
We're not going to pull a Marge shot. That's a shout out to a long where she was like, but they built roads.
Oh my God.
We're not going to do that. We're not going to bring that back.
I didn't know that was even a thing.
Oh my God. Old owner of the Cincinnati Reds. She's like, they weren't all bad. They built roads. Like, okay.
Oh my!
That sounds like some serious Cincinnati drama right there.
It was when you lived in Ohio. Yeah. That and Pete Rose, everyone was like, whoa.
Oh, say it ain't so.
So by 1918, German Norden in Bavaria alone had somewhere north of 1,500 members, which is honestly like a kind of a startling growth rate for an organization recruiting during a world war, mind you, in which most of its potential membership were off dying in a trench somewhere during World War One.
Everybody who was home was probably just old and scared of others.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is where we get to the point where there's the next individual I need you to meet, because he's the guy who actually named this thing, and almost nobody knows who this guy is. Walter Neuhaus. He was a Berlin art student who went to the war and came back wounded. And instead of going back to art, he took a job with the German, and his job title he was the keeper of pedigrees. That was. I'm sorry. Is that a problem?
That is just like I thought you were going to say his name's Jerry Arian. Like, the keeper of pedigrees is the most like lame, nerdy, fucking bullshit way of being like the racist librarian.
The thing is that was kind of his job, was to be a racist librarian. His
cool.
In a way, I'll be honest, in a way it sounds like if we were talking about the Westminster Dog Show, there'd be a guy who was the keeper of pedigrees.
Yes, that was this guy's job. Was
can I see your papers?
Only schnauzers are allowed in.
But the thing is, like, if you wanted to join the German and Norden and follow the Volksic beliefs, you had to prove your bloodline. And so somebody had to sit there and check your paperwork.
You know that was some bullshit too, where
they were like, "Are you gay? No. Are you gay? No. Are you gay? No. Does your mom know you're gay? No. Oh, so you're gay?
Denied." And just stamps him and sends him away.
Fucking stupid. It's like actually how it is. That's like what they want to do. It's so fucking funny.
Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring today's episode. And I am not gonna lie to you, my routine has kind of fallen apart these last couple of months. My schedule has gone sideways, and eating like a functional adult, kind of the first thing to fucking go. It was whatever was the fastest, probably around midnight, and I threw that thing in the back of my mouth and ate as fast as possible. So getting back and actually eating real food, Factor is what makes that most realistic for me. Chef-crafted, dietitian designed, ready to eat meals, so I don't have to choose between real food and convenience. And you know what? Here's what sold me. Every Factor meal is built around over 175-star ingredients, designed around whatever supports a healthier lifestyle and nothing that doesn't. They're ready in 2 minutes with no prep and no cleanup, so even on the days my schedule is completely out of control, eating well is still achievable. Every week, there's over 100 nutrition-dense menu items to choose from, plus new options like salmon burgers, shredded pork, collard greens, and add-ons you're gonna crave, like pumpkin-flavored cheesecake and protein shakes. And 97% of the users agree that Factor meals help them live a healthier lifestyle, so you can feel confident you're doing something good for yourself with every single meal. Having a couple of these stacked in your fridge takes the whole decision off your plate, and it just makes eating healthy way less of a fight. I use Factor, you should too. Let's eat real. Head to factormeals.com/chill50off and use code chill50off to get 50% off and one free breakfast item per box for 1 year, while supplies last until October 31st, 2026. That's code chill50off at factormeals.com. Chill50off at factormeals.com. See website for more details. This is something that's held true through history and holds true to our freaking regime today. And this is coming from me. Everybody who's like a fucking mean fascist like ruler is a fucking dweeb. They're all goddamn dweebs, and they're not even smart ones. They're just the annoying kid in class who couldn't get the attention that they wanted. And so ended up being a hateful piece of shit.
Self-centered, completely incontinent. It's just
not like us three podcasters.
Incontinent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, one of them is
all the time.
Pretty much.
So, if you wanted to get into the secret society, you had to prove your bloodline, and that's where Walter Neuhaus came in, because he was the one that would sit and check your paperwork. A wounded veteran in his 20s from World War I is now a genealogy admin for a secret society.
And what is he even doing? Like, he's just like, there's not even the internet. Like, he's just like, yes.
I'm telling you, it's literally the end of A Knight's Tale. I promise you, they're like, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Like, this guy's legit.
God, I've seen that movie at least 10 times.
Just looking at his fucking eyes and fucking hair and being like, Yep.
Yeah, checks
And
out.
you swear you're all the way white?
They gotta get their public papers from the government. They've got to get like their birth, like prove their birth line. and all
this
this
was
stuff.
just some like club. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
Like,
That's
wasn't.
100%
They weren't doing any research. This guy was like, "Oh, is that guy cool? All right. Oh, he is. Going back 17 generations. Like they just BS. You know."
Well, this dude, the keeper of pedigrees, was the one he moved to Munich in 1917, and he was the one that set up what he was calling a German study group, and the cover name he picked for it was Thule. Have you heard of the Thule Society, boys?
Yes.
Okay. This is where that name comes from. Is this fucking dweeb of a dude?
So
the
this
one
is
that
like
names it.
So this is like central, not just to the occultism of the Nazis,
Correct.
but to the whole thing.
Yeah, that's why we have to go back. That's fucking
crazy, actually. And the fact that they're checking papers at the clubhouse stage is fucking ridiculous.
Okay, I just want to say for the record, I went online, and everyone can go do this, and it's really weird. I went online and I just typed in Thule because I was like, oh, well, I would love to see some more stuff on Google about this. And the first thing that pops up is Thule.com, which is a merchant, like they sell stuff, right? Except the description is, since 1942, we've made it our business to bring you closer to the world and your passions. Y'all, are they not? Are they Nazis? Is that a Nazi company?
Maybe.
That's crazy for them to be like, since the 40s, where nothing weird was happening, we've really. What do you mean, bro?
Breaking here on Chilluminati, the Thule Society is still around.
Thule, United States.
No,
that's crazy.
Dana.
I have to look at that because I did not.
It's crazy because it's baby carriages and like dog crates, but everything's black, which makes it a little more sinister. And I kind of love it.
Swedish. It's Swedish. It's from Hillerstorp, southern Sweden.
That's basically Germany, dude.
No mention of it.
Yeah,
no mention. Jesse's trying to get canceled.
Clearly not. It's just a very interesting. Like it's very strange that that's what it says, and that's the time period.
Well,
I wonder.
The word Thule is actually comes from ancient Greek Roman literature, from Ultima Thule, which is like the edge of human exploration.
Oh, don't worry, I've been there in Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker.
Oh,
where you go
my
as
God.
the final. No spoilers. It's great.
You go to Ultima Thule.
You go to Ultima Thule, dude.
So it's just because they're like an outdoor company.
It's just this guy Walter Neuhaus just took the name and used it as the cover name for his German study group. And in 1918,
German studies, so fucking they're so cute about it. You know,
it gets cuter, dude. It gets so much cuter. And in 1918, Bettendorf, who by then had been elected to run the Bavarian province of a breakaway faction that called itself the Germanen Norden Waltvater of the Holy Grail.
Jesus Christ.
Found Neuhaus, liked the name, and actually took the name from Neuhaus's study group, and the Thule Society was formally dedicated on the 18th of August, 1918. So that's where the name comes from. Neuhaus used it for a study group, and then the German Norden Waltvater of the Holy Grail was like, I like that name. We're going to use it, and we're going to call ourselves the Thule Society. And they formally dedicated the Thule Society in August of 1918.
And these are the assholes who came up with the Aryan shit.
Oh yeah, we're getting there.
That's these guys.
Oh,
so it started from fucking German studies, the librarian of racism.
Dude, they're all pathetic fucking losers. All of them, every one of them is a pathetic fucking loser, dude. It's insane. So
all we needed to stop Nazis from ever happening was hand a fucking kid in the 40s a copy of GTA San Andreas, and it would have been fine. Could have worked out all his fucking ills against society on PS2. This is fucking so embarrassing.
It's okay that he's like gay. You know, it's all right. And like give him a hug and let him live his life. Could have stopped a lot of it too.
This is so embarrassing.
It's
so
super embarrassing. So like I said just a moment ago, Thule is the name out of an ancient Greek and Roman geography. The furthest north anybody had ever gone and could ever imagine going. It was a land at the very top of the world, past where the maps stopped.
The most Nordic thing you can imagine is what you're saying.
Virgil uses it in the Aeneid, Ultima Thule, the most distant north. And what Bettendorf and the people around him believed was that Thule was actually legit 100% real. That there had been a civilization up there, one that was ancient and advanced, and that when the ice came, the survivors came south, and that everything worth anything in European history came down from the people who used to live in Thule.
And the way they discovered it was by thinking about it.
Well, they read the ancient piece of literature by Virgil and were like, oh, it's not a story, it's real. And the great ice came and they all had to move. And that's why European history is so, that's why all the white people are so awesome. And that's his belief, not mine. Don't give me that look, Jesse. These are the racist people.
All right.
This is his reason. And this is the founding belief, and everything else the Thule Society did was built on top of this core belief that Thule was real. It was an ancient, advanced civilization. They moved south to Europe, and that's where all of these
for some reason, those guys just a little better.
So this explains a lot of the, including Norden or like that kind of stuff. All right.
Yep. So let's talk about what actually happened in these secret meetings, because the shit is fucking weird as hell. So when they would have their meetings, they met in a hotel, nothing crazy or creepy, just a hotel. The Vier Jahrzeiten. The Vier Jahrzeiten. All right, boys, I'm going to give you how do you say this German hotel name?
Jahrzeiten.
The Vier,
you know what? I'm too American for this shit.
Jahrzeiten.
The Vier Jahrzeiten.
Yeah, the Vier Jahrzeiten was out in Munich, and it was then, it is now, a 5-star luxury hotel still standing.
Really?
You can go and book a room this weekend if you want, and I'm fairly confident it would be a nice stay.
I'm good.
So Bettendorf had the money to do this. So what he did was rent the rooms of a naval officers club inside the hotel. It was a space that could hold about 300 people, and he decorated it with the society arms. The emblem.
It is a gorgeous hotel. It's actually very. Yeah, it's
fucking. It's a 5-star fucking hotel for a reason.
That's how you get it. That's how you get them.
Unsurprisingly, I don't think you'll be surprised of what the emblem was for their society. It was a curved swastika, pointed right, sitting behind a drawn sword with a wreath around it, and their greeting to one another, which they used out loud, was Sieg und Heil.
So it's like, this is like Nazis' origins, like the King's Man version of Nazis. Like, this is
kind of. Remember, there's truth to some to especially these beginning parts. But we're going to go into the main fictional stuff. You know, but yes, I want to get to the beginning and
anytime anyone hits the Sieg Heil, all I hear, did either of you see the Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie? The one they released like in theaters.
Mm-hmm. No.
Yeah.
There's a moment where a man walks out of an elevator and he just looks like a movie Nazi. And the highest pitched voice is like, Heil Hitler. It's hilarious. I think about it all the time, and I don't know why. It's, you know what? Sorry, Nazis, it's been ruined. Your whole aesthetic has been ruined. I'm so sorry.
There's a lot of things, I think,
when you realize where the beginning of it all was a bunch of fucking dweebuses. Like, it's
kind of ruined when they fucking did all that hating and killing
things. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for, though. They wanted, like, that was their vibe. I'm pretty sure what they wanted.
Yeah,
it's for you to be afraid of.
Think about it. Like this is all happening in 19. This is before Hitler had even met these people yet.
Oh yeah, this is right post-war. This is like this is like Nazi origins, like Wolverine origins. Yeah,
literally. Like, it's like a little different on purpose. Like episode 1. Yeah, they're like the clone troopers don't look quite like. They're like Sieg und Heil.
The masks are a little bit different. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
This one has our swastika's curved.
Yeah, the Emperor's like super soldiers, his royal guard are blue.
Exactly.
Meetings
for these people were on Saturdays, which was the day of Saturn, which was very important. It was the story is that was deliberate as to why that was happening, and who was in the room is honestly probably not who you're picturing quite yet. The membership skewed heavily toward academics, aristocrats, and businessmen, at least at the top of it anyway. We're talking we have doctors, publishers, lawyers. There's a prince in there.
You can just call them rich people. It's cool.
There's no difference than the people Crowley was rolling with when it comes to the idea of like a bunch of people with a lot of free time. I would wager the people who had jobs didn't have time for this nonsense.
Yeah. Somewhere in this area too, for Munich, these meetings were around 200 people, maybe 250 or so people. And remember, in the greater Bavaria area, there were 1,500 people.
The greater Bavarian area?
Yeah, the words are throwing me off.
The greater Bavarian area, there was some Aryans.
But like you said, these were people with money and standing. That's it. These were just rich fuckers. And there was a ritual side to all of this, which came down from the German in Norden. And it's exactly as ridiculous and exactly as serious as kind of Aleister Crowley stuff was. The initiations were patterned on Masonic ceremony with blindfolds, a grand master. There were knights there. There were bards there. I'm not making this up too. People who played forest nymphs were also involved. Sure. Wagner was playing. There were runes involved in all of this, and a whole system of racial mysticism that came out of an Austrian named Guido von List, who is he's a whole episode on his own if we ever want to fucking go down that rabbit hole.
What was he bringing to the table?
Racial mysticism. A lot
he's like the Wotan guy, right? He's like the fucking like fucking weird like. They're literally what this is it's like, you know how like you always see in like comic books and shit, it's like, oh, they're like the Church of Crime. It's like the evil version. They literally were like being like the evil version of the Masons or something. They have like a little bit of mysticism, a little bit of elitism, a little bit of like
what I mean by racial mysticism. You think about, well, we haven't covered it yet, but we'll talk about it too when we do Madame Blavatsky, where it's this idea that like being black, for instance, isn't evil. It just means you're further away from God and power. I thought you were saying
the idea of, we've talked about this on the show, like, oh, if it's Native American, for example, there's something spiritual about it that like a white dude doesn't quite understand, which makes it magic. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of like that's in American history.
You're talking about like Bagger Vance vibes.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You're talking. Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right.
But underneath all this fucking theater of rituals and ceremonies and blindfolds and people playing forest nymphs and who else knows,
it's just magical privilege. It's just magical privilege justification.
Underneath all that was paperwork the whole time. Because before you got the blindfold and the sword and the music and all this shit, you had to sign a declaration attesting that neither you nor your wife or partner had, again, any Jewish or non-white ancestry to the best of your knowledge and conscience in writing and filed.
I'm so curious what 1917 non-white qualified as. You know what I mean? Because like Italians weren't white, Irish weren't white for a while.
They barely got on there.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I guess probably there wasn't.
Is it just the idea of like, are you a Nordic, like,
it's vibes. It's got to be vibes.
That's what I'm saying. Back to the whole idea of like, I'm the keeper of the pedigree. It's just you walk in, dude's like, all right, he checks out, and then you're. Otherwise, I don't know how any of this plays out on any like real level.
They just have than like that guy.
Yeah, he's a friend of a friend, so we're letting him in.
The guardian of the paradigm or whatever has the fucking. He has the fucking blessed racism. His racism is the best. And so if he wipes his racism on you and you pass the test and he doesn't feel threatened by you, he'll let you in.
All right. Well,
yeah, that's pretty much correct. Yep.
You have to bring him snacks.
So at this time,
you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. Yeah.
Now, it's fun to think about, like, at this time, again, 1918, 1919, that they were just sitting around in their secret meetings doing rituals and arguing about fucking Atlantis and Lemuria or some shit. But again, at this time, shit was falling apart. Munich was falling apart. Bavaria had a socialist government under a prime minister named Kurt Eisner at this time. And the Thule Society, under the cover of being a study group for Germanic antiquity, was actually running weapon caches, forging documents, operating couriers, and gathering intelligence. They were tied into the Freikorps, which was the right-wing paramilitary formations that were the muscle of the German counter-revolution. And one of those units...
The Freikorps?
Freikorps.
Oh, my God. I was like, do you think we're the baddies?
It's that.
The
right there you go.
The
Freikorps. Yeah, no, Freikorps. The Freikorps Oberland came directly out of Thule circles. And in December of 1918, Bettendorf planned to kidnap Kurt Eisner. That plot failed and went nowhere, however. But in February of 1919, Eisner was shot dead in the street by a young aristocrat named Count Anton von Arco Uf Valley. And, there's like Arco Oof Valley had applied to join the Thule Society.
Arco Oof Valley?
Yeah, dude, I'm not.
That's what happens when I see the gas prices in Studio City. Bazinga!
there's his name right there for you.
So he's Anton, and he's of the Arco Oof Valley.
Correct.
He's Von Arco of the Valley.
This is the guy that shot Eisner. But the weird part about it is that he applied to join the Thule Society and he had been rejected because his mother was Jewish. So like,
isn't that crazy how you just hate someone and then they just turn around and come back at you with some hate and maybe kill you?
Yeah,
it's like
weird.
Fucking crazy.
Well, no, he didn't kill it. No, he went because the Thule Society was planning on kidnapping Kurt Eisner, failed. This guy went and killed Kurt Eisner, and he had been rejected from the Thule Society. So he still did what the Thule Society kind of wanted.
So he's trying to like come through and be allowed in, maybe even though he didn't actually get in. He's trying to like prove himself anyway, kind of deal.
Yeah. Well,
a weird like henchman.
Literally, next line in my script I say is there is a consistent reading of this that he was trying to prove himself. That he was trying to prove that he's like, this is the biggest way he could like show that he was on their side.
See, I'm hateful enough, even though my mom is Jewish.
Exactly correct. That's exactly what people like. Again, there's no way to prove the motive. We don't know the motive even to this day.
Being the best, dude, the best race,
the best at what he does. April 1919 rolls around, and the Thule Society gets its first martyrs. And this is all documented and genuinely like actually horrible. It's not part of a myth. By April, Munich had gone further left and there was an actual communist government, the Bavarian Soviet Republic, and it lasted about a month and it was chaos the whole time. Freikorps and regular army units were closing in on the city from outside, and inside the city, the Red Army unit started raiding nationalist strongpoints, and the Thule Society was near the top of that list because Thulists, as they had become known, had become accused of trying to infiltrate the government and stage a coup, which seems kind of obvious after like they're part of the Freikorps at this point.
It's not their fault, okay? Nobody likes their point of view. The only thing they can do is cheat. You can't hold it against them. They have to do it.
It does sound weirdly familiar in some bizarre ways, does it not?
It's like the people that they represent don't actually like the stuff that they're trying to get across.
It's weird how that happens. And on the 26th of April, they broke into the society premises and arrested 7 people as right-wing spies. Among them was the society secretary, Countess Hela von Westarp. There was also Prince Gustav of Thurn und Taxis, who was 30 years old and related to half the royal house, literally Taxis.
He's the Prince of Taxis?
He's the Prince of Thurn and Taxis.
And, I forgot about Thurn.
And
That's
taxes,
my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was
like Sears and Roebuck. And the Roebuck, they got rid of half of it, and then it became Sears.
People just really want to get around, and they didn't really need Thurn.
Yeah, there's no need for Thurn. It was all about tax. Yeah.
It was all about just getting a taxi at that point. This guy was 30, and he was related to half the royal houses in Europe at this time.
The Duke of Waymo.
That's just a computer, though. That's just like that's a Dell desktop.
That's not nice to say about German people.
And obviously amongst them was Walter Neuhaus, the guy who came up with the name Thule, or decided to use the name Thule. He didn't come up with it. They were held in the cellar of Luitpold Gymnasium, which is a secondary school, which the Red Army had been using as a post. And on the 30th of April, 4 days later, As a reprisal for reports of Red soldiers being killed outside the city, they were taken up out of that cellar, lined up against a wall in the courtyard, and shot by a firing squad. 10 people would be killed that day. The 7 Thulists, some of them, and some captured cavalrymen. Because remember, too, World War I is kind of like a mix of classical warfare and modern warfare. It's like the last classical warfare.
It was a true clusterfuck.
Yes.
World War I was absolutely the most volatile shit that's ever happened. Was World War I.
It was not
like
great.
Cavalrymen against machine guns. Like it's like one of
sucked.
Yeah,
it sucked.
And by one account, an elderly Jewish professor who had been arrested for openly criticizing the Soviet government was one of the ones killed, which obviously tells you everything you need to know about how that.
What's next? They're going to arrest a teacher for clapping?
They're not going to. Why would they do that? That's fucking crazy. The next day after that, the Fright Corps broke through into Munich, and what they did over the following week in the name of those hostages was just simply a massacre. Hundreds of people. And the killings at the Luitpold, the Münchner Gesselmord, and the Munich hostage murder became the founding wound, essentially, of the German nationalist right in Bavaria. It got commemorated every single year. It got put in speeches, in pamphlets, newspapers for the next 15 years, and then for 12 years after that by a government. And inside the Thule world, those 7 men and women got understood as sacrifices rather than as just like casualties. Of
course, martyrs to the cause.
They had to carry the flame. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Goddamn right, exactly. The way the story gets told basically is that is the moment it stopped being a hotel lodge of secret societies and turned into something that everybody in it believed it was now owed. They were going to go in and fucking take over the government if it was the last thing they did, because how dare they do what they did to the people of their society.
And literally it kind of was.
I mean, that's the scary part is like, yeah, it kind of was. So like now we have to answer the question that this whole thing kind of like hinges on which is how you get from a room full of aristocrats, doctors, and people with money in a 5-star hotel to Adolf fucking Hitler and the Nazis.
I thought you were going to say like to Vril.
Well, that's still coming. Yeah. And the answer, according to this story, and a lot of the paperwork, honestly, as well, is that Bettendorf had a problem that he was becoming more and more aware of. The Thule Society was full of kind of exactly the wrong people to get this movement to take over the government.
Sniveling ass lickers with no charisma?
And, yeah, people with money and power, university
people who write their name with a $sign in it because there's an S in their name.
Exactly correct.
People who take the trans people off T and put straight men right back on it.
Yep, exactly correct. It's like the same fucking people, dude. It is, but basically, Bettendorf, what he wanted now was like a movement, and a movement couldn't really come from the people who already had influence and power. There was a ceiling to what he could do with these people. What he needed was was workers, because for movements to work, you need like the working class people. So he commissioned somebody to fucking go get him. The man he commissioned was named Karl Harrer, and Harrer, which Harrer.
Fuck off. You got the Fright Car, you got the Fear Hotel, you got the Fright Corpse, you got Karl Horror. This is a punk band, okay? This is a punk band. This is not history. This is like the Ramones. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Honestly, I would say like this is another one of those like topics where there's no good, solid single source. This is some patchwork research has to be done. This guy is one of the kind of like, he shouldn't be forgotten amongst a lot of these names. He really shouldn't be, because he was kind of imperative to how this shit got off the ground.
Horror or Sebobadorf?
Horror. He was a Thule member. This guy was 28 years old, and his day job was sports journalist. Fantastic. He wrote for a right-wing paper, and the Thule Society tasked him with going out and building something that could reach the common German worker in Munich with
the manosphere, if you will.
It's a commonality there, because he go out there and reach them with their ideas. He wanted the Thule Society's ideas to get out to the
So you're telling me it was a sports journalist whose other job was convincing like non-rich people to get to the right-wing ideology? That was their plan? That's stupid. That'll never work. That's dumb as hell. Now, if it was the Fear Factor guy,
I don't know what you're talking about. That sounds insane.
He wants them to go out there with these ideas because nothing the middle class parties were doing was landing with them. Also sound familiar? Sound very, very, very familiar. They're like, these people are desperate for somebody to come in and be like, we're going to make change. We're going to fix it. And the current elected, those in power, are fucking sitting there with their thumbs up their ass doing nothing. And so there's a whole vulnerable group of very frustrated, rightfully frustrated people who just needed somebody to come tell them it's going to be okay.
You know what's absolutely crazy, for as silly of a game as it is? The board game Secret Hitler perfectly describes this moment in history, where if you play as Secret Hitler, you have all these advantages and you just have to not talk about it. And if you play as one of the liberals, you just shoot yourself in the foot constantly. It's crazy that board game so perfectly encapsulates this moment.
How this all works. It's how it all works. Over and over and over again. One of the worst things I ever did for my life was decide to go to college initially to major in history because I know too much and the patterns are there. And like, it sucks how much it just keeps happening.
People talk about history repeating, and then people will say, no, it's more like a river and it flows. Here's the truth. Every 15 years, people just forget what happens.
A generation. They
exactly. Just forget.
Like, it takes
people just stop. Either they stop caring. We aren't even 4 years out of COVID, and people have blocked out that entire period. Like,
I know.
Everyone.
It changed the way our world is. On a fundamental level.
And no one talks about it, like how truly messed up we all are. And it's leading to a lot of really messed up things.
Well, at least measles is back.
Great. Cool, man.
So in
so cool.
So horror in 1918.
It's even better that you're from fucking Rhode Island and you're trying to say this shit.
That's fucking mad. I was hoping that. I don't feel like I have a New England accent, except there's a couple times where I'm like, God damn it, I can't get rid of it. In 1918, horror met a man named Anton Drexler at a nationalist rally.
Anton Drexler got beat up by Indiana Jones. Like, that's
Batman came in and said, "This is your last chance, Drexler. Yeah. Give me the antidote."
So yeah, horror's on his job. He's out there now, sports journalist on a mission to reach the working class, and in doing so at a nationalist rally, he meets Anton Drexler. And Drexler was a toolmaker and a locksmith who worked at the railway depot, and he had his own little outfit made up mostly of guys that he worked with. The two of them, along with a handful of others, formed a thing called the Politscher Arbeit.
Yeah, you good?
Jesse, you want to tell me how
Do you
you
have
say
like a quick Google Translate?
Yeah,
You can chuck that in?
I got this.
I want you to say it. I want you to say
the
that last word.
Arbeiterzirkel.
I've got the translation here in a second, but I want the word out there.
The Politischer Arbeiterzirkel.
Arbeiterzirkel. They are the political workers' circle. That's what that means. And
Makes sense.
And they basically this guy, this Locks of Drexler and these guys.
So Arbeiterzirkel. So it's the circle of the arbiters.
Yeah, workers' circle. Yeah, exactly correct. And they met periodically in beer halls to talk about nationalism and what else? Talk about the Jews. And there were never more than a few dozen of them. There was friction between those two men right from the beginning too, which turns out to matter enormously going into the story. Because Harrer wanted a small semi-secret discussion club with smart men in a room talking, which makes sense because that is what the Thule Society was, and that is the only model he had ever had. But Drexler wanted an actual political party that went out there and got members actively. And Drexler won. And he had encouragement from a man named Paul Taffel, who was a Thule member, a leader in the Pan-German League, and a director of one of the largest engineering firms in Germany. So that bitch had money. And that money and the blessing were coming from the lodge either way for Drexler, because that's what the lodge wanted. So Bettendorf wanted. And on the 5th of January, 1919, in a Munich hotel called the Furstenfelder Hof, Drexler and Harrer founded the German Workers' Party.
There we go.
The DAP. Yep, exactly. This is where it all goes. Drexler wanted to call it the German Socialist Workers' Party, and Herr objected to the word socialist, so they dropped it. And I would love to know what Herr thought about how that turned out 11 years later from this moment, essentially.
You're telling me they were this close to being called the Nazos?
I mean, yeah, this close.
Do you think this anything would have even happened if they had to go with that?
I mean, it's too bad of a name.
There would have been someone who'd been like, these guys are nutso. That would have been it.
I am not so convinced.
Yeah, it would have been over. But that's the vehicle. It was just a few dozen guys in a beer hall founded by a sports writer and a railway locksmith that just got paid to come into existence by a rich dude in an occult lodge that met on Saturdays. And that was it. That's all it fucking took.
Wait, what are we talking about?
100 years ago. Sorry.
Oh, right.
I was going to say recently, but I got confused for a minute.
Yeah.
But after that moment happened, it sat there for 8 months, basically doing nothing until the 12th of September, 1919. A 30-year-old army corporal walked into a beer hall meeting on the German Workers' Party because he had been ordered to. After the war, Hitler had stayed in the army, and he had been picked up by an intelligence and propaganda outfit under a Captain Karl Mayer. And the job was going around to the political groups that had sprung up all over Munich and reporting back on whether any of them were a threat or worth cultivating. He had been to a bunch of these already. At this point for Hitler, was actually just another one, just another group he was going to.
So he's like a hate scout?
Yeah, or a recruiting. Yeah, like a hate scout to either shut them down or recruit them, depending on how he liked their hatred swing, you know? And what happened is that a guest speaker got up and started making an argument that Bavaria should separate from Germany and join up with Austria. And Hitler, who was sitting there to take notes, could not keep his mouth shut. He got up and tore into the guy. And by all accounts, apparently he did it well enough that the room stopped. And Anton Drexler, the railway locksmith, watched this, to him, total stranger, dismantle somebody in front of his membership and thought, hey, I need that.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
This guy sucks. We got to get this guy on our team.
Exactly. Drexler then chased him down on the way out and pushed a pamphlet into his hands, something Drexler had written out himself called My Political Awakening.
A turning point, if you will.
A turning point, if you will. And a few days later, a postcard turned up telling Hitler he had been accepted into the party and should come to a committee meeting, which was held in a rundown beer house, in which, as I understand it, he was somewhat even insulted by that to even have to be going there.
Wait, why?
It's just like, that's just what I like. It seemed like he didn't like going to like a rundown beer hall. He'd rather have been going to somewhere nice. Oh. Like, you really a fucking beer hall? We're not going to go.
I forgot he was secret? A prince or something, right?
yeah. Prince Adolf
Before this,
Hitler.
he was a prince or something, right? That's why he has these kind of tastes.
So when Hitler joined, there were no membership cards and no numbers at all. Numbers did not get issued until January of 1920. And when they did get issued, the party started the count not at 1 for each card number, but at 501.
What?
Yeah.
Just to seem bigger?
Dead on correct. They started at 501 so that anybody who saw a membership card would assume that there were at least 500 members.
That's so funny.
Because as we all know, if you just say there's more people at something, then there are.
I don't know.
There's no way to prove him wrong.
I feel like you guys are trying to make a reference, and I just don't get it.
I don't get references on this show. I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know what
you're talking about. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
Hitler was assigned number 555. The actual membership was 55 people. He was the last one.
It's like they're exaggerating in their inauguration, right? Like they're like inaugurating you and they're exaggerating on the number.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. I like that. It's a good metaphor. The organization that would go on to kill tens of millions of human beings began by padding its numbers like a guy fucking inflating his follower account with bots or something. Like, this is where they all
or something like
began.
That. Or something like that.
That would never actually happen in real life, but just like a thought, you know, so that's how this all came to, and that's how Hitler got pulled into this thing. Like, he actually he was supposed to be working against them, and he ended up getting recruited by them. Now we got to move on to the next man, because all this happened with the first year. The version of the story we're going to tell is says the mechanism is not the interesting part, and that what actually happened to Adolf Hitler in the first year was something else entirely, in which we're going to reference next episode. But in this story, all of this happened. What happened next is because of one man, a man
Grigory Rasputin. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, right. And that's where he shows up in this universe. Dietrich Eckart. Eckart was a poet and a playwright and a journalist, and he was about 27 years older than Hitler. He was a serious drinker and what else? A morphine user. And he was already a known.
What else?
And he was already apparently a known quantity in Munich when Hitler was nobody. And what Eckart did for him is not disputed. He took a man who could shout at a beer hall at this point and taught him how to work a room. This man gave him how to work people. He taught him how to dress, how to talk to people with money. He got him into the right houses and introduced him to the right people. He published the party newspaper. He wrote the lyrics to the first party anthem. And when Hitler wrote
some sort of party rock anthem?
Yeah, it's a party rock anthem. They don't want to hear the words. And when Hitler wrote Mein Kampf, the dedication at the front of it is to Dietrich Eckart. So this is not, this is a real dude who really influenced Hitler. What the story adds, though, what it adds to the mythology is what Eckart was doing when nobody was watching. There was a mythology added to Eckart, because in this telling of the story, Eckart was more than a mentor. He was a full-fledged Aleister Crowley style magician.
God. Tell me Hitler was his fucking star child.
And,
please, God, tell me Hitler was his fucking cosmic star child. Fulcrum. Fucking red woman of his own religion.
He was a full-blown magician, a very serious one, and the central figure in the occult circle running through Thule. And the account says he had been told by a guiding spirit before he ever laid eyes on Hitler that he was going to meet a young man who was going to become something enormous, and his job was to prepare him.
Cool, man. So, yeah, all right.
So Hitler was his chosen boy, his Harry Potter.
He was his Harry Potter in this moment.
That's
so the seances that
hilarious.
Supposedly ran through the Thule circle in Munich were not just parlor entertainment per se. They were the training.
Also fucking each other's wives. What?
Well, yeah, that's part of it. That's just part of magic. And the claim is that
someone clip it.
And the claim is that Eckart put Hitler through a deliberate program of magical initiation, opened him up, and handed him a line of communication to something that was not human.
I think I read a Doctor Who about this.
There might actually be.
No, there
was
is.
in the beer hall push in 1923. He was arrested for it. He was released from Landsberg prison in poor health, and he died the day after Christmas that same year of a heart attack. And the story says that on his deathbed, he told the people around him not to grieve because he had done the thing, that he was put here to do. That Hitler was going to dance, but Eckart had called the tune, and that he had initiated him, opened his third eye, and given him the means to talk to the powers that be, and that he, Dietrich Eckart, would end up having influenced history more than any other German who ever lived. And then
it's White Power Merlin. Yeah.
Died right then and there. So supposedly that's the story behind his raising of Hitler to be the kind of charismatic asshole that he became. And two more things came out of the Thule Society that are concrete. The first is the newspaper. In 1918, the Thule Society bought a struggling little Munich weekly called the Münchener Beobachter, or the Munich Observer. And in an effort to get the circulation up, they bolted a sports section onto it and renamed it the Munich Observer and Sports Paper.
Well, all right. Well, I got to read it now.
Bam.
And that has nothing to do with him being a sports guy?
Well, I think it absolutely had something to do with it. They knew that would be a way to get the like normie working class person to pick up the paper, draw them in with something that they all like in a weird manosphere style, and then slip in the propaganda as they continue to curiously read this paper they've never bought before.
What a crazy plan.
Would never work. Which, given that the man Thule sent to go recruit the working class was a sports journalist, this obviously is what it's fucking for. In the summer of 1919, though, they renamed it again. It became the Volkisker Beobachter. And from 1920 to the end of the war, it was the official newspaper of the Nazi Party. And the second thing that the Thule Society did.
Wait, when did they become the Nazi Party?
Not yet, but
this would
be the future Nazis. This would be their paper. And the second thing is the party itself, which we just walked through. A lodge commissioned a sports writer who recruited a locksmith, who founded a party, which an army informant was sent to spy on and who joined them instead, and who within a year had shoved Karl Harrer out of his own organization and then taken it over completely, named Hitler. So the way this story gets told, and the way it has been told since the 60s, is that the Nazi Party did not come up out of German politics, that it came out of this lodge, out of a room full of men in this hotel, and reclaiming an inheritance from a lost ancient civilization at the top of the world who needed all this. So Thule is the political end of this. There is a second society, and the second one is where, like, it gets into the weirder shit that is more mystical in this episode than potentially factual. And again, because this shit is very patchwork, I have to back up to 1871 briefly to an English novel called The Coming Race, written by a very famous and very popular writer named Edward Bulwer Lytton. And the plot of it is that a man falls down a mine shaft and finds an entire civilization living underneath the earth.
I know who this is. I know what this is about.
People
this
called
fucking shit.
The Vril-ya.
Yes.
Who are descended from the surface humans who went underground a long, long time ago. And what makes the Vril-ya what they are is that they have mastered an energy. And of course, it's called Vril energy.
It's called orgone energy.
Right up there. Vril heals. Vril destroys. Vril moves objects and Vril powers machines. Vril works at a distance and it responds to a trained human will. The Vril-ya are calm and beautiful and unbelievably powerful, and they are entirely certain that eventually they are going to come up to the surface and replace us, and they are not even mean about it. They just consider it
They're not
obvious.
even mean about it. They're just like here for fun. They're fine.
Yeah, exactly. Now, obviously, this shit written was published as fiction, but there were people in Germany, and this is like, it's stupid that this is what a lot of this hinges on. There were people in Germany who read it and concluded that actually, that wasn't made up, that Bulwer Lytton had been an initiate himself and that he had been given real knowledge and had put it out into the world in the only form that would not get him in trouble, which is as a novel that nobody would take seriously except these guys.
I mean, it makes
So
sense.
wait, what you're saying is, faced with the end of their ideology, these people, rather than face the music and decide that their truth was not real, bent the rules of reality based on fiction, which they willingly turned into reality as well as anything in their life.
I feel like you're trying to say something, and I don't know what you're trying to say.
It feels like it's impossible to ignore the dark magic sort of impetus at the center of all fascist thinking and the sort of manipulative way that it does things using like repetition of symbols and sigils. It's so
There's a lot. That's a whole brother.
it's
That's like,
so
you know, fucking
gross.
Dude,
Yeah.
I've been ripping through just like after, not even because like I was reading books about it before this research, but doing these couple episodes, I have been ripping through other magical books and stuff. Not in like a way of just being like, oh, I believe like all of this on, like, let me learn. But like, it is kind of crazy. Like symbols and what you would call sigils and intent and will can do over a majority of people if you are just relentless. And it's it's a whole conversation, dude. It's a whole episode. We can't get into it right now because we got more, but like, yes, 1,000%, like 1,000%.
Like to its core, it's like a belief in just being the best. That's taken to
You're taking consensus reality and changing it in enough people's minds that it becomes consensus reality until the other aspects that you promised would come along with it don't. And so your control over consensus reality can only last so long. Deception can't last forever. Truth always comes out one way or another.
10 or so years.
Yeah, a little over 10 years or something like that. So,
yeah, that's funny. I didn't used to care that much about fascism until about 10 years ago, but the more that I look into it now, the more it is just...
But we can have a whole conversation that's part of the propaganda of us, how we got raised, of being
attention,
we beat the bad guys, it's over, fascism is gone, except for these other parts of the world that we just, like small and we ignore.
We've been paying attention to fascism at the same rate that we've been paying attention to occultism.
Yes.
At least on this show, or at 100%. Least in my mind. And the similarities are just
pretty wild.
Just bizarre. Yeah.
That's another reason we have to put this, like, Nazis in the cult and other topics that are coming up in the next year, 2 years, 3 years later after doing magic. Because magic, I know, like, there is a subsect of people who are like, man, the magic's it's a very vague topic, and I can understand the frustrations of a vague topic. But like, when we go into these things where there is a needing of a foundation to understand what these people are doing, even if you don't believe in it, they're still doing it. So you need to know, you need to not have at least a knowledge. I'm not saying we're like we're a comedy podcast first, but like, we can't talk about the Nazis and the occult without first being like, here's what chaos magic is.
This shit is
here's
like the edge. Are. Yeah. This shit is like the edge of like themes and like reality, like the interaction of like concepts with outcomes, like is here in this type of stuff happening in the world.
And it's fucking crazy. Over and over and over again in different ways, but loops. So back to the episode. In Berlin, right around the same time, Thule is getting going in Munich, and a circle forms around exactly kind of that idea, that with the idea of Vril. They are usually called the Vril Society or the Vril Gesellschaft, and depending on where you read it, they also went by the Society for Truth. And what made this group different from every other occult outfit in Germany at this time is that the inner circle was women. That is very out of the ordinary for around this time. Specifically, they were Dr. Doom's witches. Sorry.
As featured at San Diego Comic-Con.
Exactly. Yeah. Specifically, it was a group of young women who worked as mediums, and the one at the center of it, the one whose name you may have actually heard, even if you did not know where you heard it, was Maria Orsic. Orsic was from Vienna with family from Zagreb, I think that's how you say it, Zagreb. And the thing everybody notices first, honestly, about her is her hair. She and the other women in the circle wore their hair extremely long, way down past the waist. And the reason given for it was magical. They believed hair worked as an antenna.
Like a Samson situation?
Yeah, like the reason mediums throughout history had been able to receive messages was partly physical. And
that's why I look like this. Yeah, that's why I look like this too.
Reason, exactly.
Oh,
that's why long hair.
Dude, I would be so together if I didn't have to conduct all these signals. That's why Jesse's the
skeptic, dude.
The less hair, guys, I'm gonna let you know something. Clean shave. It's just like a baby's butt. My whole body. Just like
he's like Frank. Yeah,
you know what? Antenna. Definitely not a hairy
buttery
man.
Smooth like
not
Frank.
Me.
Yeah.
No way.
So they were saying basically the reason mediums throughout history had been able to receive messages was their hair, and that cutting your hair short, which was very much the style in Berlin in the 1920s, was cutting
Grandpa
out your
Simpson.
own reception.
It was the style at the time.
It was the style at the time.
I mean, you've seen those fuckers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And what they were receiving, according to the story, was not messages from the dead. In 1919, the circle started getting transmissions, and the transmissions were coming from Aldebaran, which is a real star, an orange giant about 65 light years out in the constellation Taurus.
I thought the Empire took care of that thing, though.
No, he's back.
How dare you?
Back.
How dare you?
The story that came through was that there is an inhabited system out at Aldebaran. A very long time ago, some of those people came here and they landed in Mesopotamia, and they are the reason the Sumerians appear in the historical record already knowing how to do things nobody had taught them. And the word vril itself in this version is not Bulwer Lytton's invention. It is Sumerian from vril il.
Oh, okay.
So according to the Vril Circle, they had not made contact with aliens. They had gotten basically a phone call from distant family members because they all belong to the bloodline. Their bloodline is pure. It leads back to the Vril, it leads back to the people of the ancient civilization. That's where they all come from. The transmissions came through in a script that nobody could read, which took a serious amount of work to decode. And once it was decoded, what was sitting in there was apparently engineering, propulsion, field generation, structural specifications, all of them detailed enough for people to build from. I bet you have an idea where that's going to lead to. So now you've got two societies in two cities, and depending on who is telling it, they either merge or they start working in parallel.
So you're telling me Bill Tompkins was right?
He might have been right. Thule has the politics and the money and the newspaper, while Vril has mediums and transmissions and the weird engineering from whatever they were receiving from Aldebaran or whatever. So like now these two societies are working together, but they are like the yin and the yang, the woo and the logical political. And in 1922, supposedly, they built the first thing. Now, I'm going to leave the machines for just a minute.
Is this like Glocken, whatever?
Like Glocken. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. We're going to leave the machine for a brief moment. I don't want to like lose you here, but I have to tell you about Vienna for more context, because there is just context throughout all of this episode about a very specific object and about the years before any of this shit meant anything to anybody.
Are you fucking time slicing me right now?
I would never use that terminology.
You fucking time slicing me right now? You
ever use that terminology?
You're fucking time slicing me right now, aren't you?
I would call it time edging.
You're fucking time edging me right now, aren't you?
I'm edging you. I'm edging you. Yeah. So at this point, Adolf Hitler is in Vienna starting around 1907. He is a failed art student, broke as fuck, living at men's hostels, and he is doing what broke young men do in a city, which is spend an enormous amount of time in museums because they are warm and they are free.
If only.
Or close to it.
If only that's what we were doing.
Yeah, well, back then.
We're playing Fortnite.
What you were doing.
Yeah, we're playing Fortnite on PS3.
Yeah, yeah. And in the Hofburg Palace, in the Imperial Treasury, there is a spear. It is called the Holy Lance, and it has been part of the regalia of the Holy Roman Empire for something like 1,000 years. The claim on it is this is supposed to be the lance that a Roman soldier named Longinus.
Is it not supposed to be Longinus?
Oh, am I saying it's like my compilation problem?
I don't know. I'm just asking because I've heard it said different ways, so I'm just very
Let's
curious.
go with Longinus.
Let's just stick our
Longinus.
fingers in
Let's stick saying fajita. You love chicken fajitas, and I'm like,
let's stick with Longinus.
Oh, fuck, dude. I didn't know. Now I'm making it all weird.
No, that's what people tune in for. Don't you worry.
Oh, now I gotta fix how I say it. Shit.
Nah, let's just stick with it.
Should we just go with it?
Longinus.
You think people tuned out when the first time I said Longinus?
You know what? I don't
space.
think that's what would cause them to tune out.
So, this is supposed to be the lance that the Roman soldier named Longinus drove into the side of Christ at the crucifixion.
Just sounds like saying Longinus. It's not a good thing. It sounds weird.
Longinus. The dude has a
dude,
long
a girl in my
ginus.
school had a Longinus, dude.
Jesus Christ. It's not great.
Fuck. I got tears in my eyes. I got to be able to read my fucking script I wrote.
Stupid.
Oh, shit.
Stupid jokes.
It's dumb, but it's now I'm mad because like, fuck. All right. So they drove the spear into the side of Christ at the crucifixion and set into the blade. There is an iron pin that is supposed to be one of the nails from the cross. Charlemagne is supposed to have carried it. Otto the Great is supposed to have carried it into battle at Lechfeld in 955.
And Shinji was supposed to have carried it.
He was supposed to have carried it. Yeah. But this guy's supposed to, where he broke the Magyars and effectively founded the empire that ran for the next 900 years. And the belief that went with it for 1,000 years of European monarchy was pretty simple and specific, that whoever holds the spear holds the destiny of the world. Lose it and you lose everything. The way this part of the story comes to us is through a man named Dr. Walter Johannes Stein. He was Vietnamese, born 1891, and he was a serious student of the occult, specifically a follower of Rudolf Steiner and the anthroposophy movement. And
you said he was Vietnamese?
Yeah.
He's from Vietnam.
Yeah. Oh my God. No.
You mean Venetian? From
Viennese?
Okay.
Viennese. My brain immediately fucking...
Alex, I'm with you. I was like, okay.
Well, he's from Vienna.
I was like, what's his name? He's Vietnamese?
Then my brain just did not clock that at all as I read through that. I'm fucked up over here. You got me with Longinus, and I'm having a hard time.
This is a good script. I like this episode so far.
So this guy, Dr. Walter Johann Stein, was Viennese, born in 1891, student of the occult, specifically a follower of Rudolf Steiner and the anthroposophy movement. And the story is that sometime around 1911 or 1912, we don't know exactly when, Stein was in a secondhand bookshop in Vienna and picked up a copy of Parzival, the medieval Grail epic by Wolfram von Eschenbach. And this copy had been annotated. Somebody had gone through it in the margins, and the annotations were like occult insight. They were good occult insight, according to this guy. Kind of like, I have like annotations in my Chaos Magic book. This is like the best, like finding used magic books at a secondhand bookstore that have like notes in it. It's awesome. Whoever wrote them, though, understood the material at a level Stein did not expect from a used book. So Stein did what many of us, or at least I would do. He went back to the bookseller and asked who had sold it. And the name he got was?
Adolf Hitler.
Bingo, correct. Adolf Hitler. According to Stein, he tracked the man down and they knew each other for a stretch of time in pre-war Vienna. And what he described of Hitler.
Are you saying it that way because this is probably not a true story?
Yes. Yeah, we are now in myth like we don't have the paperwork like we did in the first third of this episode or so.
So in this version of the story, Hitler is like a blessed star child who's been training his whole life to be a wizard.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
Yes. And what this guy described when he met Hitler was somebody in the middle of a serious and deliberate training. Like he was initiated. This guy was very serious and like good at magic.
He said he was hot too.
He was super hot. I think he said he had an 8-pack, which was very rare.
Yeah, he said his skin like sparkled like diamonds.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Basically, he's trying to describe that Hitler was he was not some dude dabbling in magic. This dude was a hard worker of magic. Years of study in Vienna and later in Munich, a systematic run of the Western esoteric tradition, and according to Stein, the use of mescaline to force open states of consciousness that would not open on his own.
Okay. So Hitler is also like Fear and Loathing in Vienna. Like he's just like fucking.
I'm opening. He's opening his third eye, dude. He's opening his consciousness. That must be a nightmare just tangentially to be on a psychedelic and out in like a public space.
I thought you were going to say that must be trippy to be on a psychedelic and be Hitler.
Also, dude, that goes
imagine being on acid and being like, I can't believe I'm Hitler. Whoa, dude, what the
that's
fuck?
That's the worst episode of Quantum Leap ever.
Oh boy.
Dude, Ziggy, no.
Like tangentially, that's like when I had like the last time I did anything psychedelic and like fucking ego died. When I came back, the thought I had openly is like, I don't know how anybody does psychedelics and comes back and be's a bad person. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know how if Hitler was truly doing psychedelics and doing magic, I don't know how you come back and be Hitler after that. Like I don't understand. But that's just my own personal notation. So the end of that program was initiation. And in the actual technical sense of the word, and the thing Hitler came out of it believing was that the lance in that case, in Hofburg, was the physical key to world power. And that at that moment, he decided that lance was going to be his one way or another. Now, we can go back to more present times. And in March of 1938, Germany annexed Austria. And within a very short window, the Nazis went into the Hofburg and took the imperial regalia, crown, sword, orb, and obviously the lance. And they moved all of it to Nuremberg, which was the ceremonial heart of the whole regime, the city of the rallies. 30 years after a broke art student stood in front of that case, supposedly, according to the story, that fucker came back in charge of a country and stole that shit. And then there's the ending, which is the part of this that has kept the story alive, I think. Nuremberg fell to American forces at the end of April 1945. This is the part of the story we've talked about on the show as well. The regalia had been moved into a vault under the city, and on the 30th of April, an American lieutenant took official possession of the Holy Lands on behalf of the United States government. Adolf Hitler died that same day. And the version of the story that gets told says the gap between the lance being taken and his death was approximately 80 minutes. Is like, that was it. America took the lance. 80 minutes later, Hitler was dead.
Green Lantern, The Flash, Wildcat, Hourman, Sandman. 1,000
years of same belief now belongs of power now belongs into American hands. And now the reason we know any of this, the entire chain, the whole story as it has just been told, is that Walter Stein eventually told it to somebody. So we'll get back. Now we're going to go quickly back to the engineering and the machines I left you all off at, because we left that circle of witches and mediums in Berlin sitting on specifications.
You fucked me up because now I'm thinking of those stupid ass fucking metal mask outfit gowns.
Yep. You don't think I was thinking about that when I was writing this whole
That's so dumb.
One's green, one's
so
purple,
dumb.
One's red, one's orange. They all have themes.
One's Wanda. Oh my God.
One's going to be Agatha. I cannot wait. So this machine they built according to the specifications is that, and they did build this thing apparently, is that the first one in 1922 was what they considered a test rig. And whatever this thing was, never really flew. It was a proof of concept for the drive. From there, the story splits into two timelines, essentially, that run alongside each other. There is the Vril series, which were the smaller ones. Basically, they started building smaller, single-seater, two-person craft that were shaped in the shape of
flying saucers.
Exactly correct. In the shape of discs. And then there is the Honey-Boo series. And the Honey-Boo series. The Honey-Boo series.
You want to know something fucked up? Real quick sidebar. We have to stop because you invoked it. And so now you must get this psychic damage, okay?
Are you about to show me the Honey Boo Boo dancing on a pole thing?
No, I'm just going to tell you that Honey Boo Boo's 20, and I'm going to leave it there.
You know what? I hope she's doing well.
Yeah, I hope she's doing super
wherever
great.
you're at, I hope you're doing well, dear.
Honey Boo Boo, we love you on Chilluminati podcast.
Sorry we brought you up on the Nazi one.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Just a similar name.
Yeah.
So the second series of crafts are the ones that you've probably seen pictures of. Honey-Boo, the first flight around 1939.
Honey-Boo, is that, what language is that?
That doesn't sound like a language.
It sounds so Japanese to me.
Honey-Boo.
Honey-Boo.
Look, Google it. It's literally the name of the original myth that would be given to the saucers.
Crazy.
Honey-Boo.
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 Honey-Boo is a myth. What else is it? It's not a real word. It's a mythical word. It's a fake
Honey-Boo.
word. Honey-Boo. This flying saucer was 25 meters across and could fit a crew of 8. Then Honey-Boo 2 is bigger, and it is the one that supposedly went into limited production with 26 meters, a crew of 9, and the claim is that it was flying operationally by 1943 and 1944.
Does Honey-Boo qualify as a Foo Fighter?
It would. I think it would. I think it would qualify as a Foo Fighter. Yeah.
Okay.
Then Honey-Boo 3.
Honey-Boo.
Honey-Boo Boo Boo. Yeah. Which is enormous. It's 71 meters across, could fit a crew of 30, and is described as being able to stay in the air for weeks before having to come down and touch down.
Well, didn't the Germans actually have like some kind of flying
that's what next episode's for.
Yeah,
the actual reality of their, because that's the thing is like once you hear, like, the story is fantastical, but it doesn't mean they weren't fucking around with shit, like, because they were. So this one, and then the last one above all the others, there is the Andromeda Garrote, or the Andromeda device, which is 139 meters long and is not an aircraft at all, but an aircraft carrier of a sort. It carries the smaller discs inside it like a mothership.
Like Independence Day.
This is like
a Pez.
Yes. It's exactly Independence Day.
Independence Day.
Exactly.
Welcome
this
to Earth, bitch.
This is what the
head opens and the little guy comes out.
This is what the Doom Witches were taking in.
It's built.
This is what the Doom Witches were getting as transmissions from the aliens and from another star system. This was the blueprints they got fed into their.
This is why they had the hair. Yeah.
This is what the hair was allowing them to get. The propulsion is where the virile transmissions supposedly really came in, because none of this is running on anything fucking conventional. The drive that gets described is a rotating electromagnetic field system, a Thule tachyometer, spinning mercury or a mercury compound at very high speed to generate a field that cancels out the craft's weight, which is why the descriptions always emphasize the same handfuls of things. Like, they are silent, they accelerate in ways that should turn the crew into paste and do not. They change direction without banking. Like, this explains some of the observables.
All the stuff that we talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's also a second engineering line in here too, which comes from an Austrian named Victor Schauberger, who is a real inventor with real patents working on what he called implosion, the idea that nature moves by drawing inward rather than pushing outward. Schauberger built a thing called the repulsine, and the story is that the SS took him and his work in during the war and put him to it, like put him to work for the Nazis. And there are blueprints for all of this, detailed blueprints, cutaway drawings with German labels, dimensions, crew positions, armament, top speed. Like, we're gonna come back to those blueprints later, I promise. Now, obviously, the question then becomes, and it's the only one, is like, if Germany had a working fleet of anti-gravity aircraft by 1943, then why did they lose the fucking war? If they had this technology, nothing should be able to stop them. We literally talk about that today with UAPs, that if some country unlocked the ability to move at infinite speed across the planet and be anywhere instantly untrackable, you win. You win the world.
Hellboy.
Exactly.
One word, Captain America.
But the answer the story gives is not that the machines didn't work, though. The way they kind of work around this is the answer it gives is that the machines were never actually the point. Actually, let's just move the goalpost. The machines, they weren't really the point. They weren't actually meant to win a war in Europe. And there's a version where the more esoteric people in that program consider the war itself to be a distraction from what they were actually building towards. The discs were an evacuation program. They weren't for a war. They were how a certain group of people were going to fucking leave this place. And that is how we end up.
A certain group of
the Dr. Doom Witches.
This is basically the plot of Captain America, the First Avenger that you're saying right now. Like, pretty much.
Inspiration gets pulled from places, you know? So that's how we end up at the bottom of the world. In 1938, Germany sent an expedition to Antarctica. And this is not actually this is, again, as I mentioned before, we talked about in the show, this is actually not something in dispute. Like, a ship called the Schwabenland, which had been converted so it could catapult aircraft off the deck. That's the name of it. I'm telling you, it's Schwabenland.
I know, but
technically, me saying enchilada is right too, in a way.
Yeah.
How do you say that with a German accent, Alex?
I have no idea. I don't have a German accent. I wish I did.
Schwabenland.
But it's a ship.
Schweifenland. Yeah, it's a ship.
So, in my mind, the way you said it, you know how you swab the deck? I just imagine that there's so much swabbing going on. They call it Schwabenland.
They're just schwabbing it up over there.
That's Schwabenland over there. You don't want to go there.
You got assigned to Schwabenland? I'm sorry.
Like, oh,
sorry.
guys,
You're
I'm
not gonna
so
have a good
sorry.
time.
I might work at Schwabenland. It's rough.
Schwabbing it up.
So this ship had been converted so it could catapult aircraft off the deck. It left Hamburg in the middle of December and went south, and it carried 2 Dornier flying boats and a full complement of scientists and officers under a captain named Alfred Richter. And what they did down there was survey. They flew over roughly 600,000 square kilometers of coastline. They took something like 11,000 aerial photographs, and they dropped over 1,000 metal darts stamped with swastikas across the territory to mark it as what else claimed by the Nazis. They're just like dropping dibs markers across Antarctica to be like,
schwabbing the land.
Schwabbing the land. And they named the whole new region.
Schwashed in the land.
What do you think they named the new region?
New Germany.
Schwabenland.
New Schwabenland.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No, they named it New Swabia. New Schwabenland.
We literally compromised on the name there.
And I know. That is all documented.
This is at the Mountains of Madness is what's about to happen right now.
That's all documented shit. But the question, it's still so as we keep going, what the aerial survey found, the story was ice caves with geothermal activity, warm water lakes under the sheet, space that was already there and did not have to be dug out. And over the next several years, under cover of a world war that had everybody's attention pointed somewhere else, material and personnel went south. The name that gets used for it is Base 211. I don't know if have you heard of the Base 211 before? Okay. This is all part of this. I want to be clear that this part is real and documented, and you can look it up tonight. And you can look at the submarines. The war in Europe ended on the 8th of May, 1945. On the 10th of July, 2 months later, a German U-boat, U-530, surrendered at Mar del Plata in Argentina. And then in the middle of August, 3.5 months after the surrender, a second one, U-977, did the same thing at the same port. Both crews said they had been at sea and had taken a long route. Argentina and then the United States questioned them at length, and the questions they got asked on the record were about whether they had transported anybody and where they had been. And the reason those questions got asked is that in the summer of 1945, the Allies genuinely did not know for certain where every senior Nazi had ended up because, spoilers, there were a lot of them. There were a lot of them, and a lot of them scattered as the war was coming to a close. What the story says those boats were doing is in the last run is that a year and a half later, at least the story goes, a year and a half later, the United States Navy went to Antarctica in force. It was called Operation High Jump. It ran through the summer of 1946 into 1947, and the scale of it is the thing. Like Task Force 68, roughly 4,700 men, 13 ships, an aircraft carrier, the Philippine Sea, a submarine, icebreakers, dozens of aircraft, and at the head of all of it, Admiral Richard E. Byrd, the most famous polar explorer in America. The stated purpose was training and research, and the story's question is like, well, was that really what they were doing up there? What they said is it was planned to run 6 to 8 months, but they came home in under 2 months. Men died out there. Aircraft were lost out there. The task force pulled out early and went home, and Byrd gave an interview to a Chilean newspaper afterward in which he talked about the threat posed by aircraft capable of flying from pole to pole at tremendous speed. And the reading that gets put on all of this is that High Jump was an assault, a failed one, and the United States found out the hard way what was down there and quietly never went back that way ever again, which kind of brings us to the last piece and the biggest one. The man who put it together in its final form was a Chilean named Miguel Serrano. And Serrano is not somebody I don't think you can kind of just wave off as like a crazy crank, because this dude is a career diplomat. He was Chile's ambassador to India, Yugoslavia, and Austria. He corresponded with Carl Jung. He was friends with Hermann Hesse and wrote a book about both of them that people can still read to this day. And what Serrano wrote across decades and most completely wrote in a 1978 book called El Cordón Dorado, The Golden Thread, is that Hitler did not die in that bunker on the 30th of April. In Serrano's account, he went south, that he is in the base under New Schwabenland. He is not while he's there, he's not there just to hide, that he's actually also in New Schwabenland in communion with what Serrano calls the Hyperborean gods. The same lost northern...
I should have known from the Ultima Thule that the fucking Hyperboreans were going to be here soon enough.
They were. I
should have fucking known.
Dude. The moment I said it, you definitely should have. In your comic book brain, that should have clocked.
Should have known.
This is the same lost northern civilization the Thule Society was founded on 80 years ago at the top of this goddamn episode, and at a time that has already been decided that he leads the fleet out of the ice. Like, the belief is he went out there in those submarines, and that's what those submarines were actually doing. And in that is all of it, start to finish, from the lodge in Munich to 1918 to a fleet underwater in the ice waiting for a date, is the story I think most people know about all of this.
And so then they pick it up in X-Men First Class when Magneto shows up and takes him out in Argentina. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the same. So now the best part, the last of the episode, I have to do what is responsible of me before we go to part 2 next week. I have to take this shit apart for you so you know where all this shit comes from, so that next week we understand the actual base of everything. I'm going to go do this in a very specific order. I'm not going to start at the beginning. I'm actually going to start with the newest piece and work backwards.
Fucking slicing it up, bro.
No. I'm on a time river. I'm on a time river right now. We're going to start with Maria Orsic, a name we brought up briefly. The woman with the hair that is a transmission, one of the mediums, Aldebaran, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The reason I'm starting
the Green
here,
Witch. Yeah.
The reason I'm starting here is because there is no record that Maria Orsic ever even fucking existed at all. There is no document, no paperwork, no archive file. There's no diary entry or photograph or passport, no interrogation, nothing from the German side, nothing from any other side of the war. This woman, who is supposed to have been the most famous occultist of the Third Reich, who brought in the transmissions from the aliens, who got Hitler out of there in the submarine so he could go meet with Hyperborean gods, where he likely either still is or died. This woman almost certainly wasn't real.
Tell me she's from like Charlie Chan or some shit. Tell me.
Well, the most famous female occultist of the Third Reich does have a paper trail, though. And that paper trail doesn't begin in 1948. It doesn't even begin in 1918. It begins in 1992.
What?
1992. And I'm going to spoil it. She's not a 100-something-year-old witch. She's maybe 34 years old.
Tell me.
Dude,
oh my God.
This is every time I do something like this, whatever it is, blue beam, whatever, when you get to the core of it, it's always so much stupider.
I was alive.
I wish.
You were alive.
You were alive. I was alive. All three of us were alive when this version of the cult story took hold. And people believe it. People, crazy Nazis, still believe this shit. They don't. Anyway, she first appears in a 400-page book called Das Vril Project, written by two Austrians named Rolf Edel and Norbert Jürgen Radhofer, both of whom were members of a Vienna outfit called the Tempelhof Gesellschaft, which was a Gnostic organization founded by neo-Nazis that claimed to be descended from the Knights Templar. That book is the first time Orsic, Aldebaran, the Doom Witches, the discs, any of the stuff that Nazis supposedly had UFOs comes from this book in 1992. Before this book, none of that existed.
So you're telling me the Nazi trope that we know from comic books isn't even from the actual pulp era. It's from the second wave pulp era of the late 80s, early 90s. like
Indiana
Rocketeer,
Jones,
like Rocketeer era.
But
like,
the reason Indiana Jones messes with Nazis and occult stuff is because they did fuck with occult stuff, which again we'll get to. But all this UFO, real,
but like, it was
this
probably
shit comes,
like the idea of the Nazis in Indiana Jones probably had more to do with this than actual history.
Yup. They probably watched Indiana Jones and were like,
saying.
oh my God, that's the truth. Like, it's the same. The photographs of Maria Orsic that people have seen that get posted with her name under them are film stills. You know, with all that luxurious hair, somebody in a period costume on a set in Austria in 1992. Like, that's when those pictures come from. I'm sorry, 2 years later, 1990. Her name is in the book. Photos of her arrive in 1994. They're pictures of a woman that 2 years later they put in period set costume on a set in Austria and took pictures of her. She looks
like a picture from Metal Gear Solid. She looks like
yes. The evidence that she existed is a fucking woman pretending, taken 49 years after the war fucking ended. And remember, I told you,
crazy.
Like, the unknown script from Aldebaran that took so much work to crack that I told you about earlier.
Yeah.
When people went and actually looked at those texts, they're not impossible to crack. They're in German. The encryption is a simple substitution cipher. The kind of like, A, if you see an A, it's actually a B.
Yeah, it's like fake. It's like the type of when they want to give you like a fake language that you can read in fiction.
When you pass notes to your friend in class. Like that kind of shit. A civilization 65 light years out transmitted to Earth and was just using substitution cipher decoder ring shit to like this shit. The blueprints are the same story, same circle, same window, all the same people. There is no German archive that they come from. There's no capture record, not even an Operation Paperclip, where you would have thought the Americans would have been like, all right, well, we need to, maybe these guys are something. No, they don't exist. There's no drawing entered into evidence at Nuremberg trials. There's no interrogations everywhere. Those blueprints have also been getting better over time. The versions going around now are actually cleaner, more detailed, and more internally consistent than the first versions that dropped 30 some odd years ago because enthusiasts keep improving on them. And much like enthusiasts do, don't clarify that their work is like an improved version and just try to pass it off as the original.
So neo-Nazi occultists are Indiana Jones fan fiction?
It's what it seems like, yeah.
Yes!
Dude, this is weaker than the Zodiac Killer, dude. This is crazy, man.
That's insane. Now, Serrano, let's go back to Serrano. In 1978, and everything I told you about him is true. He really was an ambassador, and he really did know Jung and Hess. He was also, until the day he died in 2009, an entirely unrepentant Nazi who spent 50 years building what he openly called esoteric Hitlerism. He took...
Esoteric Hitlerism is what Nazis destroyed the internet, dude.
Nazis are such dorks. And that's coming from me, man. Like, Nazis are so fucking dweebs. He took it from a French Greek writer named Savitri Devi, who had spent decades arguing Hitler was actually an avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, and he built it out into a full system, like a whole magical system. Serrano was not like, he was not trying to convince a historian, and I do not think he could have been insulted by me saying that in any way. What he was writing was scripture. He was essentially like, that is like, he's taking something that already exists and like writing it down as though it's new. Like, it's very scripture, like passed down kind of like knowledge. So like if you go back 7 more years and you get Wilhelm Landig, who was Austrian and who was a former SS officer and who after the war sat at the middle of a circle of ex-Nazis in Vienna trying to work out what their ideology was supposed to be now that it had lost. In 1971, Landig published Götzen gegen Thule, Idols Against Thule, and he called it a novel openly. He marketed it as fiction, and his secret base is not even in Antarctica in this one. It is in the Canadian Arctic at a place he calls Point 103. Somebody else actually took that and moved it to the South Pole later. So the whole thing of Hitler even being in the South Pole traces back to like an ex-Nazi SS officer from 1971 that they then readapted in the 1990 novel to be like, actually, it's not in Canadian Arctic, it's in Antarctica. You see, like you can keep, it's all so
it just worked better for the story. It just worked better for the plot. Yeah, just worked better.
Exactly. It worked better for their plot. And Landig gave us one more thing which was stolen, which is the most durable, I think, out of all of this. He invented the black sun, the dark sun, which was the hidden energy that renews the Aryan race and is the symbol to carry what the swastika could no longer carry in public. Like the dark sun was supposed to be the new replacement symbol for the Nazis and like all of it's what it represents. There is a sun wheel mosaic on the floor of the Velvesberg Castle, and it is real, and it does date back to the SS period, but the identification of that floor as the black sun with all of Landig's meaning welded onto it comes decades after the war out of that Vienna scene. And the name got retrofitted to it onto a floor tile. That wasn't the black sun initially. They just grabbed something and said, see, it's always been there, even when it wasn't supposed to represent that at all.
That is so embarrassing, dudes. Just look out for each other. Holy shit. Stop being pussies. Just look out for each other. Just be nice. Shut up.
This brings me to Ernest Zundel. Zundel was German born. He moved to Canada and he became one of the most prominent Holocaust deniers on this planet. In the 1970s, he set up a publishing operation called Samizdat. And when he set it up, he just led with flying saucers. He didn't even pretend. Like the dude immediately set the shit up and he just led with flying saucers. He put out a run of Nazi UFO books under pen names, Antarctic bases, secret weapons, the whole fucking kit and caboodle aimed directly at the UFO audience. And here is again where I think a lot of the reason UFO and conspiracy theories, you can see where all of this always keeps coming back to racism. It's because they all did it on purpose. Like all these people did it on purpose. And in the 70s was as big and as mainstream as it had ever gotten up until I'd say modern day. He sold seats on an expedition to find the polar entrance to the hollow earth at $9,999 a piece in the 70s. People who interviewed him have said he admitted privately that the saucer material was a hoax he was running to build publicity and a mailing list. And he was still publicly. Yes, Jesse?
Nothing. Every time we do anything on this show and you guys are like, but why would someone do this thing? It doesn't make any, I always am just like, people suck, you know? And this is like,
it's just like assholes every time.
Yeah, I figured I would just do this to get some publicity and like, go to hell.
It's the same tactic as stapling the sports onto their propaganda thing. You're aiming at audiences.
Yeah, same vibe. Yes. Oh, it's gross.
However, he was still publicly defending the Antarctic base in 2002. For him, though, the saucers were basically, like you said, the front door to all this. Somebody picks up the thing or comes into a meeting because of cool secret aircraft. They order a book, whatever. Now they're on a list. And the next catalog that shows up in their mail has something else in it. And like we all know, there was no reason to guess the motive here. It was all Nazi propaganda. Now we go to the spear. The man who told the Walter Stein story was named Trevor Ravenscroft, and he published it in 1972 in a book called The Spear of Destiny. And Ravenscroft says right up front in chapter 1 that Stein told him all of it personally. He describes their first meeting, and he talks about the friendship that he developed over years. Walter Johannes Stein died in 1957. The book came out in 1972. And years
so
later,
he's also just secretly alive?
He's quietly alive, yeah. So when he got pressed on it, Ravenscroft admitted he had never met Walter Stein. Not ever once. He revised his explanation, or rather his revised explanation was that he had made contact with Stein's spirit through a medium. And that's how we got the truth. When a reporter went digging into it in the early 80s, the connection came apart almost instantaneously. And there is no good evidence Ravenscroft ever met the man whose testimony, his entire best-selling history is built on top of. And it gets so much better because in 1979, Trevor Ravenscroft sued a horror novelist. James Herbert had published a thriller called The Spear, and Ravenscroft took him to court for copyright infringement. He is claiming his book is. Do you remember the Warrens?
Yeah, I remember those.
Do you remember the very end where they had to go to court and had to reveal that it
was all fake?
If he's saying it's historical, then nothing could stop the people from writing about books about it. But if he's going to go in and defend copyright, then he has to admit that it is a story that he made up that's his.
Right.
Like the same goddamn thing is happening in this moment. He is claiming his book is history, actual events, and simultaneously suing somebody for copying it, which is a thing you can only do if your work is an original creative work. He's doing both things. And the account that has come down from that case, and I got to be careful and call it a reported account, is that Ravenscroft explained that he and Herbert had met before in a previous life as the two thieves crucified next to Christ.
Stop this nonsense.
Why them? Why? Because it has to connect them to the Lance of Longinus?
He said that, well, the person suing him, he said that he had been on the right hand while Herbert, the person suing him, had been on the other side. The reason that he's going after him is because they were the thieves. One went to heaven and one didn't. And
so it's
they're
fake.
After each other. Yes, it's all fake. It's all
no. I mean, it's
fake.
fate. Yeah.
Oh, fate.
It's all
also
fate.
That. Sorry, it's all fate. Yeah. And now we go to Dietrich Eckert on his deathbed, telling the room that he had called the tune. Like I said, he said earlier, he called the tune and opened Hitler up and basically like gave him his psychic powers. You know where that comes from? The same fucking book from Ravenscroft, 1972. I can even give you the exact page 91 of his book.
That's fucking crazy, dude.
There is
so embarrassing.
There's
it's just
no
literally fiction from one dude's head.
Yep. There's no source for it, obviously. There's no witness account, obviously. No letter, no diary, nothing. I could go down the list, but there's fucking nothing from anybody who was in that room in December of 1923 when he died. It cannot be documented from Eckert or from anybody who knew him. But it shows up in Ravenscroft, and then it gets quoted by everybody who came after in books, sermons, documentaries, about 4 bajillion forum posts online, and every single one of those citations traces back to this dude. The dude who admitted that he never even met Walter Stein, where he got all this story from. Like, all of it. Two of the biggest moments in this entire first half. It's just...
They just decided a book was real.
Yes. So that's the next point. You know, the 80 minutes between grabbing the lance and Hitler dying?
Yeah.
Also Ravenscroft's book.
Just from the book, yeah.
He put that number into the world from his own mind. He put that number in there, and the spear itself has been metallurgically dated, and the main body of it comes out somewhere around the 7th or 8th century, which is a very long time ago, and also about 700 years too late to have been a crucifixion. It's not a magic fucking spear. It was just a fucking old spear being kept in a vault. Antarctica, New Swappenland, the base, the expedition is real. And everything I told you about it, that is real. And the reason for it is written down in the German government's own paperwork. It was ordered through Gorning's 4-year plan office, and the planning went to a state counselor named Helmuth Wolfdat, and that purpose of it, basically that's where we get all the purpose of it. But the real reason in the paperwork wasn't to hunt mystical artifacts. It was for whale oil. Like, they sent all the ships out there for whale oil. In the 30s, whale oil was the primary raw material for margarine and for soap.
That's how Norway preserved their economy when they became independent from Sweden in the 60s too. That's like a valuable resource, but definitely not the caves from H.P. Lovecraft. Yeah.
My next point is that the whole thing is Germany was importing something like 200,000 tons of it a year, most of it from Norway.
There you go.
That was a strategic dependency, and it was eating their foreign currency reserves with a war coming. So they were out there. The plan was to find a stretch of Antarctic coast nobody had formally claimed, survey it, claim it, and put a German whaling station on it. So yes, there were boats out there, and yes, they were claiming land in the Nazi name, but for a war reason that made more logical sense than fucking magical undersea ice bases. They were basically, the Nazi Antarctic base was a margarine procuring operation, if you really boil it down, margarine and soap. And it didn't even fucking work anyway because Norway claimed Queen Maud Land by royal proclamation on the 14th of January, 1939, while the Germans were still on the boat and had not reached the coast yet. 2 follow-up expeditions were planned, and the war canceled both. Nobody stayed. There wasn't anything that got built. The total German presence in Antarctica is 1 converted freighter, 2 seaplanes, about 80 dudes, 3 weeks of aerial photography, and a bag of darts that they used to claim shit. And on one flight, they got low on fuel and had to throw gear out to lighten the plane, and part of what went into the ocean was a box of swastika darts. Captain Richer, who ran the whole thing, was married to a Jewish artist and picked his crew on polar experience instead of party membership, which meant there was exactly 1 party official aboard whose main contribution to the expedition was just making everybody sit in a room and listen to Hitler's Christmas speeches on the radio. This was literally not even really a Nazi endeavor by like the end of it.
Do you guys want to get out of here? Let's just go to Antarctica. Like we don't.
Yeah, let's just go fucking look around in Antarctica.
Yeah, exactly.
For a while. Yeah.
Project High Jump was real too. The scale was real. Bird was real. All the deaths, and it did end early. Like I said, it ended early because the conditions were worse than they planned for because you're going to Antarctica in the 40s. The ice was worse than they planned for. A plane did go down and it ended up killing 3 men, and equipment kept failing while they were out there. They got what they came for and then just went home. It was,
and there's record of them going home and everything.
Yes, we know that's it. That's basically all that happened. It was a cold weather training exercise for the U.S. boat and a mapping run at a moment when the Navy was starting to think hard about fighting the Soviet Union across the top of the world. So they obviously started prepping for cold conditions because fighting the Soviet Union would mean fighting in cold places all the damn time.
So embarrassing.
Exactly. And the Bird quote about aircraft flying pole to pole at tremendous speeds as a naval officer, it did happen, but it's just a naval officer in 1947 talking about Soviet long-range bombers coming over the Arctic, which is what every single person in the American defense establishment was terrified of that year, and which turned out to be exactly correct. Nobody had to lie about Project High Jump. All you have to do is what I try to do in these episodes, which is just find the true facts and put them next to each other and then delete the fake reasons that are added by a book in the 1970s or whatever. Like, unfortunately, the audience will, tends to fill holes themselves, not our audience, but an audience of like people taking in this stuff. And they will, and people will always fill it with something so much more interesting than just bad weather made people turn around. And the U-boats that showed up in Argentina months late were also real, but the reason is that both crews had been at sea when the war ended. Both boats had orders that no longer meant anything, and neither captain wanted to hand his crew to the British. Both were investigated at the time at length by people highly motivated to find something, and guess what? They found nothing. It is the most simple explanation for why U-boats would show up months later, because they're on a fucking U-boat in the middle of the ocean, and they're not like submarines now. They're a lot more dangerous, a lot slower. Like, it takes time.
They shouldn't have had those. Those were fucked up. Those were so scary. Those were so dangerous.
U-boats were fucking scary.
Every movie that I see, I'm like, fuck all of that shit.
Yeah.
That is like the scariest shit I've ever seen.
Now, we're almost done here. We're at the end of the episode here. There's a couple more things to cover. One is The Morning of the Magicians from 1960. 2 Frenchmen, Louis Pauvels and Jacques Bergier. And this is a book, The Morning of Magicians, is the book where most of what you have heard tonight kind of enters the world in the form that you know it. Basically, it is a huge, sprawling book about hidden knowledge generally. Alchemy and lost civilizations and, suppressed science, and a long central section of it is about the Nazis as a magical enterprise, essentially. And it sold in the millions and spun off a magazine and was a legitimate intellectual event in France for most of a decade.
What is it? It's like a Fortean
like I said, it's a collection. Like The Morning of Magicians is like a book of just like, here's some interesting hidden knowledge about alchemy. And
like a Reader's Digest about...
kind of like just like interesting knowledge. And then the Nazi magic stuff gets shoved in there with that esoteric knowledge. I don't think they did it on purpose. I just think at this point, it had already kind of maybe gotten out there a little bit. It spun off a magazine, like I said, and was a legitimate intellectual event in France for most of a decade. 8 years after it came out, Chariots of the Gods landed in an audience it had basically already built. And what Pavels and Bergier did was not like, didn't really lie, which is why it worked. They just took speculation and they wrote it in the grammar of fact.
The grammar of fact? What the fuck does that mean? Just lie? Just pretend?
Yeah, they just fucking lie.
The grammar of fact? What the
alternative facts. Alternative facts.
The grammar of
Brother
fact.
speech.
That's what we... No, that's what we call magical speech.
My bad.
That's what this is.
Bad.
I'm trying to insert some magic. You change perspective by using a word unexpectedly, and it changes how you believe it.
The grammar of fact is fucking hilarious.
No, like they just fucking lied. They lied
in the grammar of fact.
In the grammar of that's a good, politicians take note. Basically, they took all these things that they had like heard may have been something that was going on with the Nazis, put them in the book The Morning of the Magicians, and published it without really saying anything about, if it was fake or not. Just declarative sentences slammed in there, which takes us to the bottom of the whole thing. And the bottom of this is like one paragraph in a pulp magazine. In 1947, a man named Willy Ley published an article called Pseudoscience in Naziland, an astounding science fiction. Ley was a German rocket engineer who had helped found an amateur spaceflight society in Berlin and who left Germany in 1935 because he could not stand what it was becoming. And a specific part of what he could not stand was the pseudoscience, which wouldn't happen in today's America, right? Measles isn't back.
No. Anthony Fauci is not about to have the worst year of his life for no fucking reason.
Pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Wouldn't rise. So this guy left Germany in 1935 because pseudoscience was rising in Germany, and he watched the best universities in the world at this time start taking cranks seriously, and that was it. A brain drain of any fascist regime. And that article that he wrote is him explaining to Americans how a modern country went insane, and his answer is that the place was drowning in nonsense, and then he makes a list. Cosmic ice theory, the racial mystics, and one paragraph about a group in Berlin, which he says he thinks was called Wahrheitsgesellschaft, or the Society for Truth, and which spent its spare time looking for Vril. He does not know their name. He is simply writing from memory, openly saying he's writing from memory 12 years later for a science fiction magazine, and he hedges it in print, and he tells you what were doing, which was trying to find Vril by contemplating the structure of an apple cut in half. We'll talk about it next episode.
Contemplating the structure of an apple cut in half?
Dude, I'll leave that in there for you we'll talk about it next episode. But that's it. That is the entire contemporary basis for what would spin out to become known as the Vril Society.
It's even more embarrassing than I thought it was going to be honest. It's even the fact that it's the 90s.
Yeah.
The 90s.
Well, this guy was writing this in 1940s.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, the fact that it all boils down to 90s imagery for all of that stuff. And then we're talking about just people basically looking backwards and being like, oh yeah, this too. Oh yeah, this too. Oh yeah, this too. Yeah. That's so lame.
But where the Vril Society comes from is this dude trying to explain that he thinks there might have been a group called the Society of Truth doing dumb bullshit with something called Vril. And that's it. And from that, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the Vril Society myth was born because this guy said this once. This is it. One paragraph about this shit, using it, by the way, as an example to show people how stupid his country got, how unbearably fucking dumb everybody got in his country, and he left. And under Willy Ley, there is one more bit, which is that the Vril in his paragraph comes from the novel Bulwer Lytton, 1871, The Cosmic Race, which he wrote and published as fiction and never once claimed otherwise.
It'd be like if the world was ending and we made a society to study the Force.
Yes.
Like, it's like fucking crazy.
It's that dumb shit. It's so annoying. All of that leaves us with Thule. And Thule is the one I do actually have to kind of be a little bit more, I have to handle it a little bit more gently, because the Thule Society genuinely did exist. Like, it was real. It really was founded in Munich in 1918 by a man calling himself Bettendorf. It really was anti-Semitic and nationalist and mystical. And it really did own the newspaper that became the Volkischer Beobachter. And it really did sponsor the party that Hitler joined and took over. That, everything we went over, all that is real. But Hitler was never a member. He never showed up as a spy and joined them. He never joined, and there was actually no evidence he ever attended a meeting in the fucking first place. And we can say that with unusual confidence because a Thule member kept a diary of the society's meetings, and Hitler is not in it. Ever. There's not even good evidence that Hitler and Bettendorf not even met each other once.
I'm not surprised at all.
And some of the all-star Nazi memberships that were supposed to be there, like Hess and Rosenberg, Himmler was also another room member, and Göring comes in the form, everybody quotes, from a book published in 1964, not from a Thule diary thing or any of the government paperwork, a book by Goodrich Clark, who is the historian who actually did the archival work, went through those roles and called them spurious and fanciful, and found that several of the biggest names were never more than just guests once or twice at a Thule meeting, and they probably just thought these guys were a bunch of fucking dorks and didn't do anything. People the lodge extended hospitality to during a revolution rather, in a city where everybody on the nationalist right was in and out of everybody else's room. This is a time where all the right is trying to figure out how to get the left out of power. And most of the actual membership did not care about the occult at all. The occult was not the central point of the Thule Society. That was Bettendorf's thing. What the membership cared about was anti-Semitism and stopping communists.
So stupid. So stupid.
Yeah, Thule was a right-wing political operation. That just
dickheads. Just dickheads at the library. Yeah.
It just had the tip of its dick dipped into mystical magic shit. And that's it. The lodge created the party thing needs one, like, how do I word this? Harrer really was commissioned by Thule, and he really did go build the workers' circle with Drexler, which really did become the DAP. That chain is also very real. But look at what happened to Harrer. He wanted a small, semi-secret discussion club because a lodge was the only thing he knew how to build. Hitler wanted mass rallies and street confrontation, and Hitler ran him out of his own party by early 1920, about a year after it was founded and about 4 months after he joined it. Karl Harrer died in 1926 at 35 years old, and if you could measure of how much the occult lodge ended up steering the thing it supposedly created, it would be minimal. It would be minimal. Thule built, like, it was a political wing more than magic. The magic
There's
shit
so much
was made
research of what the Nazis were doing. Like, it's not hard to see what they were doing when they weren't running an occult, secret society.
And Bettendorf, he was out of the Thule Society by the end of 1919, blamed internally for the membership list getting into communist hands and getting those men killed that I talked about. And then he was mostly out of the Germany for the next 13 years. In 1933, the Nazis take power, and then Bettendorf comes home. And he comes home to collect. He publishes a book that year called Bevor Hitler kam, which is just before Hitler came. And the entire argument of it is, I did this. My society paved the road. It was me. The Thulers were the first ones Hitler came to. We made him. And you know what the Nazis did when that book came out? They banned it.
Yeah.
They banned it immediately. Yeah. They prohibited it. And then in 1934, they arrested him and put him in prison for a stretch of time. And then he left the country again into exile in Turkey.
I wonder what he thought about that.
He didn't, like, his little star child. Like, that didn't have, oh God.
I'd love to read his diary about what he thought about getting banned and sent out of Germany.
I'm sure he loved it. I'm sure he absolutely loved it. Because over the next couple of years, the regime would rolled up the German esoteric scene generally. The lodges and the occult orders and the Masons, all that shit, They were all legislated out of existence and shut down after the Nazis took power. The one man in history who stood up and publicly claimed that an occult society created the Nazi Party was arrested by the Nazi Party for fucking saying it. That doesn't sound familiar. Some of the people out there right now seem to be having a weird turn of heart or a change of heart because something that they thought was on their side is turning on them. You're an idiot. It's not the first, it's not the second, it's not the third, it's not the 10th, it's not the 100th time this happened. This has always happened. This guy ended up in Istanbul, and there is credible material. Like, we have a little evidence that he spent the war years working for German intelligence there and possibly for the British at the same time. And on the 8th of May, 1945, he went into Bosphorus and drowned.
What?
At least it's generally recorded as a suicide, as far as we know. Yeah, he went and just killed himself in 1945.
Right,
he just went to...
Why?
We don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
Okay.
The 8th of May, 1945 is the day the war in Europe ended, and he was dead. So I just spent you guys telling you the story and then some time taking it apart, which is that, like, saying like a lot of this didn't happen, which, but that is not what next week is going to happen. Basically, where we leave this here and kind of this weird tangential is that this is where our story ends, because when we pick up next week with our new episode, the Nazis did dabble in the occult. We have record of it, and they did do some weird shit. While it may not be as grandiose and mystical and magical as the Thule Society and all these mystical UFOs being built and all this stuff, that stuff may not have been real. There is stuff. Next week, we go to Welfesberg, the actual castle, and what Himmler was actually building in there, which nobody ever finished, and which is honestly probably stranger than the version with the black sun thing that they were talking about. We also are going to go to Anurebe, which was a state-funded research institute with a real budget and real academics whose actual job was to go out and find the evidence for a mythology that had already been agreed on. And then we do the 1938 expedition to Tibet, which absolutely did happen. And what they were really doing there, which was measuring people's heads. And we'll get into all that stuff next week.
Damn it.
So, boys, that is the mythological version of the Nazis and the occult. And the reasons, it's all a bunch of made up bullshit.
Bunch of dorks.
It's a bunch of dorks. I'm sorry. It's a depressing list of dweebs doing dumb shit. But sometimes that is the reality of it all. And that's exactly, like, look at Stephen Miller. He is the dweebiest of dorks. He is an absolute nerd nobody likes. And, like, this is the kind of dude he would have been in the Thule Society. Like,
1,000%.
Thule Society.
1,000%.
Crazy shit. That's all of it for today, boys.
Just wiping their nasty smell on everything.
Just whacking their freaking gooch stains and smeared on everything.
Disgusting little angry people.
It is. I hope you boys enjoyed. I hope everybody listening enjoyed. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. Appreciate you all for listening. Thank you so much. We're off to go to a Minnesota at patreon.com/Chilluminati pod. We appreciate you. Love you. Goodbye.
Thanks.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Chilluminati podcast. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike Martin, joined by I don't know who they are. There's two. What? Terrence Hill and Bud Spencer.
No.
Neo and Trinity.
No.
I don't understand, and I probably never will. Let me just tell you right now that there's two. Leon Kennedy and Claire Redfield.
I'm telling you, I think he